Hi, I'm worried. Just kidding, I'm hit YouTuber The Awesome Jan. Point of the matter is, some weird stuff has accidentally been leaked, not by any morons, no, by Nintendo themselves. Recently announced in the Nintendo Switch 1 Final Direct for realsies this time, Nintendo decided to discuss their whole new digital game cart system. A revolutionary idea that Steam has already done. It's called game sharing. The main thing about it is it's how you take games from one of your Nintendo Switch systems and bring it onto another. Now, I've never needed to do this before because I only own one system. I'm not rich, but for sharing between friends or family, it's pretty neat, and for those of us who are rich, it's good for sharing between multiple systems. This means that if you stupidly bought Mario Odyssey digitally, you can now bring it off to a new system and play it wherever you want. Now, what matters is none of that. That explanation is just for those of you who skipped the Direct. What matters is that Nintendo made a web page for this. And said web page at the very bottom has a couple of those asterisk things, you know, oh, we've said this, but there's actually a slight thing where this might not be the case. In one of them, they said that compatible systems must be linked to a Nintendo account to use virtual game cards. Well, yeah. The more interesting part is the very next sentence. Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games and Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games can only be loaded on a Nintendo Switch 2 system. Who boy. I theorized as soon as they revealed this thing that this was the way that you could get Switch 1 games onto your Switch 2. If they aren't literal carts you can pop in, then this is how you do it. This is how you bring over all your digital indies and your digital first parties. Doesn't matter. Point of the matter is, it's how you bring them over. Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games is capitalized. The edition is capitalized. This means that this isn't some hypothetical thing. This is something Nintendo already has planned on something that already exists. But what is it? When I hear Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games, alarm bells start ringing in my head, because that doesn't read to me like free updates to older games to make them run better on the Switch 2. No, that reads to me like $60 brand new versions of repackaged Switch games with a couple new updates. In the Thousand Year Door remake, we did see that there was some code there for rendering to 4K. This made many believe that we would just be getting free updates when we put a game into our Switch 2s. But that might not be the case. It very well could still be the case. It could just be that you won't get these upgrades whenever you pop them back in the Switch 1, and they're trying to explain that in a very weird way, but to me, it just does seem like we will be getting some sort of new versions of games. Here's how I think it'll work. Whenever you buy a Nintendo Switch 1 game on the Nintendo Switch 2's eShop, you will automatically get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of that game. For example, you buy Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch 2's eShop, hey, there you go, it's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of that game. But if you bring a Nintendo Switch 1 game over through the digital game cart system, I think you're gonna have to pay a fee to make it so that thing gets upgraded to Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Perhaps what this message is implying is that whenever you buy a game on the Nintendo Switch 2, you don't automatically get access to the Nintendo Switch 1 version. You aren't given the opportunity to spend $10 or any amount of money to downgrade it. You just only have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. This isn't too crazy of an idea, as Sony has already done this before. Essentially, if you buy a PS4 version of one of their first-party games, you spend $10, guess what, bucko? You've got the PS5 version. Isn't that swell? Unfortunately, the way the modern world works, and the way the world has always kind of worked, is that you don't just do things for free. You need to get something out of it. And as nice as it would be for Nintendo to freely update Switch 1 games to make use of Switch 2's hardware, that ain't happening. Maybe it is, but to me, I really do think Nintendo is greedy enough to make us pay $5. Maybe it wouldn't be 10, maybe it'd just be 5, but some sort of fee to get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition versions of games. Or they could tie it in to Nintendo Switch Online. Yes, as one last little theory, I'm going to posit that Nintendo will allow you to just, pay the money, boom, you get the upgrade, but it'll also be rolled into Nintendo Switch Online, specifically the expansion pass. That way you have another reason to buy the extra tier. Like, sure, you could spend $10 on like all 30 of the Switch 1 games when it bring across, or you just spend $30 a year and you get N64 games and Sega Genesis games and all these DLCs, and you get all those games upgraded to Nintendo Switch 2 edition for free. It seems like the kind of thing they tie into it. And that's the end of this video. Yeah, I'm not going to stretch it to 10 minutes because that is really all there is to discuss. Like, what am I going to bring up? Oh, I hope when they get Mario & Luigi Brothership upgraded that reduces the horrible pop-in and frame rate. Like, yeah, obviously. We all know the Switch 1's shortcomings. We all know the games that had issues. We all know which issues need fixed. That's about it. I don't need to hold your hand as we go down this path way of thinking when the actual Direct is less than a week away, where we'll probably just learn what this is. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or I'll come back to it. That way you can see that I was right and comment down below that I was right, or you can comment down below what you think this whole thing means. Maybe it's nothing, or maybe it's specifically like, oh, here's Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It's got all the DLCs packed in. That's also a theory I've put in this video, which means I'm right in all angles. And if you've watched a couple of my videos at this point, or are excited to see the way that I break down the Nintendo Switch 2's reveal, subscribe, man. I make videos all the time, and definitely not because I'm trying to avoid doing coursework. No. Okay, maybe. Look, it's either this or, like, sleep, you know? I'd rather this. Bye-bye.